This is the story of Kwame, a poor man with nothing but a big heart, and Abena, a woman who carried deep scars on her face that made everyone in the village call her cursed. People laughed at Kwame. They said he had lost his mind. They told him he would suffer if he married Abena. But Kwame did not listen. He knew what his heart wanted. Tonight, I will tell you how this man gave up everything, his family, his friends, even his job, just to be with the woman everyone feared to look at. And I will show you why their love is stronger than any curse, any pain, or any word spoken to break them apart. Sit close, and listen well, because this is not just a love story. This is a lesson about what true love looks like when the whole world tells you to walk away. In the heart of a village where elders' eyes judge faster than their hearts forgive, where mothers taught their daughters that beauty was life, and fathers warned their sons never to look twice at a woman who carried the mark of misfortune. One man broke every rule. His name was Kwame, and he would soon become the man everyone whispered about, because Kwame fell in love with the woman the world called a curse. Her name was Abena, a woman no one dared look at twice, not because she lacked grace, but because her face carried scars so deep they looked like earth cracked by years of drought, marks that made children run behind their mothers' wrappers, and grown men cross to the other side of the road. Her skin looked like the surface of a dying moon, and her presence was enough to empty a room faster than a snake in the doorway. The villagers called her names: Snake Skin, Night Spirit, Misfortune's Child. The village elders cursed Kwame for talking to Abena. His friends laughed behind his back, calling him bewitched, foolish, lost. Even his own parents cursed him, at the thought that their only son might marry the woman everyone called curse. Yet nothing could silence Kwame's heart. But Kwame's world changed the day he first saw Abena humming softly as she swept the church courtyard at dawn. It all began on a quiet Saturday morning. The village was calm, smoke rose slowly from cooking fires, birds sang in the mango trees. Kwame walked past the small church made of old bricks. He heard a voice. He stopped at the gate. It was Abena, humming a sweet song about hope. Kwame's heart beat fast. He had never felt this way before. He had seen many beautiful women, but none had touched his heart like Abena. He watched her for a long time. When Abena looked up and caught his eyes, she froze. Their eyes locked. For a moment, time stood still. Kwame smiled. Abena looked down quickly, shy but curious. The next day, Kwame came back, and the day after that, too. He always found a reason to pass by the church, just to see her. Each time, he watched Abena and tried to talk to her. But Abena avoided him. She thought, why would a man like him want to speak to me? People only come close to laugh or stare. She felt pain deep in her chest every time she saw his smile, afraid it was only a trick. One day, as she was filling a water jug by the well behind the church, Kwame walked up quietly. He picked up a small flower from the ground, a white hibiscus, and handed it to her. Abena, he said softly, I know people look at you and see your scars, but when I look at you, I see a strong woman. I see someone who makes my heart warm. Abena's eyes filled with tears. No man had ever spoken kind words to her. She turned away, her hands shaking. She wanted to run, but something in Kwame's voice made her stop. Kwame continued, I don't care what people say. I want to know you. I want to see you smile. Abena looked into his eyes. She saw no fear, no disgust, just honesty. That night, Abena could not sleep. She kept thinking of his words. Could this be real? Could someone truly love me, scars and all? She prayed quietly, asking God if this man was sent to heal her heart. The next day, Kwame returned to the church early. The sun had barely risen. He waited near the water well, holding 2 cups of porridge he had bought from Mama Efua's store, one for himself, one for Abena. When she arrived, her eyes met his and she stopped walking. Kwame smiled and stretched out his hand, offering her the cup. Just taste it, he said, it's warm. But Abena shook her head slowly. She did not smile. I don't want your porridge, she said in a quiet voice, almost like a whisper. Please stop coming here for me. You will bring trouble to yourself. The villagers will laugh at you. They will call you names like they call me. Kwame looked at her gently and said, let them talk. Their words cannot break me. I'm not here for what they say. I'm here because I see something in you that they don't see. But Abena stepped back. You don't know my life, Kwame, she said. I've been called a curse since I was a child. My own uncle once said I should not be allowed to touch the cooking pot. Even my aunt told her son never to sit close to me in church. People think I carry bad spirits because of my skin. Some mothers tell their daughters, if you don't behave, you'll end up like Abena. She turned away, her shoulders shaking. You are kind, Kwame, but I don't want your pity, please leave me alone. Kwame stood there in silence, his hand still holding the second cup of porridge, now cold. Abena left. Weeks passed, and though Abena still kept her distance, Kwame never stopped coming. He never asked for anything, he never rushed her, he only stayed close, sometimes helping sweep the yard, sometimes sitting under the mango tree nearby just to hear her sing. The villagers noticed, whispers grew louder. That boy must be mad, they said. How can a man fall for a woman who looks like a ghost at night? Some even warned Kwame, you'll never find a job again if people think you're serious about her, they'll say she's cursed your mind. But Kwame would smile and say, let them talk, my heart is not theirs to control. Still, deep inside, Abena was afraid. She had seen people pretend to care before. One man once brought her groundnuts and then told the whole village she was begging for love. Another told her she should be grateful for any man who touched her, even if it was just for a night. She had learned to protect her heart like a fragile clay pot. The next morning, he didn't bring flowers or porridge, he brought a promise. He stood before her and said, Abena, I'm not here for games, I don't want to touch your body, I want to build a life with you, I want us to have a home, a family, not someday, but soon, if you let me. Abena looked into his eyes for a long time. She saw no shame, no fear, only love. For the first time in many years, her lips broke into a full smile. She whispered, then let's start, slowly. From that day, they sat together after church, walked to the market side by side, people stared, some shook their heads, others spat on the ground as they passed. But Abena no longer hid her face, and Kwame never let go of her hand. Love had begun to grow, not rushed, not perfect but real. Months passed, Kwame and Abena were now seen together often. They sat under trees laughing quietly, helped each other with chores, and even started joining evening prayers at the village chapel, sitting side by side. Some villagers began to accept it, others still refused. But for Kwame, it was time to take the next step. One Sunday afternoon, he sat on a wooden stool outside his mother's kitchen hut, watching the smoke rise from the fire. Mama, he said softly, there's someone I want you and Papa to meet. His mother looked up from the cooking pot, curious, is it the girl from the church? The one with the face? Kwame nodded, yes, her name is Abena, and I want to marry her. Silence fell. His mother dropped the wooden spoon into the pot and stared at him. His father, who had been sharpening a knife nearby, paused and looked over his glasses. Kwame, his father said, voice low, do you know what you're saying? I do, Papa, he replied, she is kind, she is patient, she makes me better. His mother's eyes filled with worry, but her face, people will talk, you'll be mocked, your children will suffer, have you thought of that? Kwame looked at both of them, his voice steady, they're already talking, let them, I love her. His parents exchanged looks of disbelief, but to keep peace, they agreed to meet her. The next Saturday, Abena came to Kwame's family home, her best dress freshly ironed, her scarf tied neatly, her heart beat like a drum inside her chest. She had never met a boyfriend's parents before. Kwame held her hand tightly. Whatever happens, I'm here, he said. They walked into the house together. At first, his parents tried to smile. They offered her water, asked small questions, but the moment Abena removed her scarf out of respect, revealing the full marks across her face and neck, everything changed. His mother gasped quietly, his father looked down and didn't speak again. The visit ended in silence. Later that evening, Kwame's parents called him into their room. We will not allow this marriage, his father said firmly. This woman is not fit to carry our family name, she looks like a walking curse. Kwame's hands shook. Papa, please, she is not a curse, she is a blessing. His mother's voice cracked. We've worked hard to raise you with pride, Kwame, don't throw your future away, choose another girl, anyone but her. But Kwame stood tall. You always taught me to choose what is right, not what is easy. I am choosing her, whether you bless this or not. That night, he wept quietly in his room. The next week, the news spread like fire. His parents told uncles and aunties, church elders, neighbors, friends. Some people stopped greeting Kwame, others told him he had been bewitched, a few said Abena had used a charm to tie him down. But through it all, he held on to one truth. She is the only one who has ever looked at me like I matter, and I won't let her go. His parents gave one last warning. If you marry her, we will not come to your wedding, you will no longer be our son. Kwame, holding back tears, replied. Then I will still go ahead, with or without you. The day after Kwame stood up to his parents, Abena came to visit him. She was smiling, holding a basket of mangoes, her favorite gift to bring, but when she reached the gate of his home, Kwame's mother met her there, arms folded, lips tight. Go back, the woman said coldly, don't bring your shame here again. Abena stood quietly, her smile faded, but she didn't cry, she simply nodded and turned away. That was just the beginning. Whispers began to fill the village. At the well, women shifted their buckets away when Abena arrived. At the market, traders refused to touch her money. At church, elders gave her sharp looks and avoided sitting near her. Children mocked her behind her back. Even the seamstress who once laughed with her now said, I don't sew for women like you, go find your kind. Kwame saw it all, his heart boiled, but he could not fight the whole village. One evening, as they walked past a group of old men seated under the baobab tree, one of them shouted, Kwame, you no longer have shame. You walk with this scar-faced girl like she's a queen. Kwame stopped walking, he turned around. With his voice calm but strong, he said, yes, I walk with her like a queen, because that's what she is. But they only laughed louder. Days turned to weeks, the pressure grew stronger. Some villagers threw stones at Abena's doorstep at night, others smeared ashes on her mother's stall in the market, whispering that they were cursed. Abena stopped going out unless necessary. Maybe you should go, she told Kwame one day, maybe you should find someone normal, someone your people will accept, I don't want you to suffer because of me. Kwame took her hands in his. Abena, I didn't choose you to please the world, I chose you because you're the only home I've ever known. She broke down crying in his arms. And still, the world stayed cruel. Even Kwame's boss at the carpenter's workshop warned him. You think people will bring their work to a man who walks with a ghost woman? You're killing your business. Eventually, clients stopped coming. Money dried up. But the two of them, Abena and Kwame, grew stronger in love. They sat by moonlight and sang to each other softly. They made jokes in the face of hunger. They prayed together, even when nobody else prayed for them. They created their own little world, in the middle of rejection. And each time the world closed the door, they held each other tighter, whispering, we are enough, even if nobody else sees it, we are enough. But they had no idea the biggest challenge was still ahead. And it would come from a place they least expected, asterisk. The wedding day came, not with joy and trumpet sounds, but with quiet hearts and quiet pain. The small chapel on the edge of the village sat almost empty. The air was still, like the world was holding its breath. Abena stood outside in a second-hand white gown. It didn't fit perfectly, but she wore it like royalty. Her eyes were wet, her hands shaking. Kwame stood at the altar, dressed in his finest, an old suit he had mended himself. But his eyes, they searched the empty front row. His parents were not there. No family members. No neighbors. No friends. Just silence. But then, two elderly strangers walked in, holding hands. A man with kind eyes, a woman with silver hair tied neatly under a scarf. They smiled at Kwame and Abena. They were not family. They were not even from the village. They were actors, people Kwame had quietly paid with the last of his savings. He couldn't bear the thought of Abena walking down the aisle to no one. So he made a choice. He gave her parents, even if only for one day. Abena didn't know, but when the woman kissed her forehead and whispered, "You're beautiful, my daughter," she wept. Not because she believed it, but because she needed to hear it. As they exchanged vows, the church doors creaked open and a few curious villagers peeked in. Some smirked. Others whispered. A few laughed under their breath. Can you imagine? Marrying a girl like that, and no real family. But Kwame heard nothing except her voice. Abena's voice shaky and full of love as she whispered her vows. Even if the world turns away, I will turn to you, I will walk with you, through storms, shame, and silence. Kwame's voice broke as he replied. Even if love cost me everything, I will still choose you, in every lifetime. No fancy music, no camera flashes, no village feast. Just the sound of two hearts finding peace in a storm. After the vows, a tiny group of children danced with them under a mango tree. An old radio played a dusty love song. Abena and Kwame laughed and cried in turns, feeding each other bread and cola. It wasn't grand. It wasn't accepted. But it was real. And that made it beautiful. Yet even in that moment, some villagers gathered nearby under a tree, whispering and pointing. He's gone mad. That scared girl must have used charm. This won't last, just wait. But Kwame stood tall, hand in hand with Abena. He didn't hide. He didn't shrink. He smiled and kissed her forehead for all to see. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a man can do is love loud even when the world tries to shame him into silence. That day, they didn't just marry each other. They married truth, they married defiance, they married grace. And though they didn't know what lay ahead, they had each other. And for them, that was enough, asterisk. After the wedding, real life came knocking. Not with gifts, but with burdens. Kwame's parents, cold and unmoved, sent word just days after the ceremony. Return the keys, the message said. That house no longer belongs to you. His childhood home, where he took his first steps, where his late grandmother once prayed for him, was taken away without a goodbye. No room for a wife they did not accept. No room for a son who had brought shame. So, with a suitcase full of folded dreams and a bag of clothes, Kwame and Abena moved into a crumbling one-room house at the edge of town. The rent was small, but even that felt too much. The ceiling leaked when it rained, the walls were thin, rats danced in the corners at night. But they made it home. They laid a mattress on the floor, a plastic bowl held their food, a single kerosene lamp lit their evenings. Still, every corner was filled with love. And laughter-tired laughter was their music. Kwame walked miles each morning, looking for work. Some days he carried blocks at construction sites. Other days, he helped elderly women at the market carry their goods for a few coins. Sometimes, he came home with nothing. And yet, every evening, he brought Abena a small gift. A roasted corn, a mango, or just a leaf shaped like a heart. I saw this and thought of you, he'd smile. Abena tried too. She knocked on shop doors, cleaned yards, even offered to sew, though her vision was limited. But many would stare too long at her face, then find ways to say no. Come back next week. We're not hiring. Try somewhere else. They weren't hiring, just hiding their judgment. Some even said it plainly. Customers won't like to see you out front. She never told Kwame those words, she didn't want to burden him more. But some nights, she would cry in silence, her back turned to him. And Kwame, lying beside her, would hold her tighter and whisper, "You are not a burden, you are my reason." Then came the landlord's knock. Loud, cold. 2 months behind, if you don't pay by Friday, out. There was no mercy in his eyes, no kindness. Just numbers. Kwame nodded, swallowed hard. And walked 10 kilometers the next day to beg for work in a nearby town. His feet bled. But he kept walking. Because home was not the house. Home was her. And he would fight to keep it. Sometimes, they went to bed hungry. Other nights, they shared one boiled yam and made jokes to forget how little they had. But in the middle of all the lacking, they had each other. And even in poverty's cold shadow, their love burned warm, asterisk. In a world that often judges by appearance, where beauty is measured by symmetry, and what is defined by what the eyes can see, Kwame and Abena taught us something far deeper. Something the eyes cannot capture but the soul can feel. True love sees beyond faces. Their journey was not paved with gold. No riches, no comfort, no approval. But it was paved with something far more rare. And a kind of beauty that can only be found in the fire of trial. They lost homes, but they built one in each other. They were mocked, but never stopped believing in each other's worth. They went hungry, but never let love starve. In the end, it was not the community's opinion that defined them. It was their resilience, their quiet courage, their stubborn hope. As the African proverb says, a heart that loves never grows old. And another says, even the most beautiful flower will wither, but a kind heart will bloom forever. Abena's scars faded into stories. Kwame's tired hands became symbols of honor. And together, they proved that when love is pure, it outlives shame. It outshines mockery. It outlasts hardship. Because real love, love that sees, chooses, and stays, will always win. So, to anyone listening, look beyond what the eyes can see. You may just find a treasure, hidden in a place the world overlooks. Because the face may fade, but the heart, that is eternal, asterisk. If this story touched your heart, and you believe in love that fights to survive, then consider supporting Kwame and Abena's dream. A dream to build a small home of their own. A place where love, not judgment, lives. Your little support can go a long way. And if not, a kind comment, a prayer, even sharing this story, means the world. Subscribe to this channel for more real African love stories, stories of courage, stories of hope, stories that show. Thank you for watching, and remember, every heart deserves to be seen, asterisk.